Welcome to Simple Conversation with ASG.
Yep, can hear you perfectly. How are you?
Yeah, good to talk to you, my friend. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You're Australian.
No, I'm based in the UK. I'm English, born and bred.
Your accent's one of those like English accents they just sound so close to Australia, and you pronounce words and stuff similar.
Oh, interesting. Well, they a lot of their phrases sound pretty English. Some of them. No, born and bred in England. Started my life in the second city, Birmingham. Then just gradually moved further and further out, and I've lost my Brummie accent in the last couple of decades. I now live in Warwickshire, which is still in the West Midlands. That's a lot of people would be familiar with Stratford-upon-Avon. There's a very famous writer from there called William Shakespeare. You probably heard of him.
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah, I think people have heard of him. So yeah, I live there now by myself at the moment, living a life where I'm pursuing physical and mental excellence and trying to spread the good word of health, nutrition, and God. So yeah.
Yeah, as you speak, I can hear the Brummie coming in a little bit. There's some undertones there still. You
Yeah,
haven't quite lost it.
yeah. I used to sound probably like Thomas Shelby, probably 10 years ago, but I've slowly lost it. So it's weird because depending on who I talk to, people say I sound posh. Some people say I sound Brummie. It's a weird one. I think it's sort of 50-50.
Yeah, well, before I started the podcast, I had no idea that my Irish accent was so strong. But since I've started it, it seems to be the only thing people have noticed about me so far.
Yeah.
So it's got me sitting now trying to figure out if I can find speech exercises to get it down a bit.
That's it. Yeah. I knew you were Irish because it said in your bio, but
Yeah.
I would have guessed Irish anyway, just from hearing you right now. Whereabouts in Ireland?
Belfast. One
Belfast.
of the big cities.
Yeah, there is definitely a distinction. You can hear it in the Northern Ireland accent and the Republic Island accent.
Yeah, they're so kind of different apart, but it's so weird because in both accents there's so many variations. Like I find myself walking around day to day, and there's some people I look at and I genuinely can't believe I share an accent with you. Like it doesn't sound anything similar.
That's it. Yeah. No, I haven't been to Ireland yet. I definitely want to. It looks beautiful, but both nations, shall we say? Yeah, I definitely want to visit both soon.
Yeah, I would bring a coat if I was you.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly nice, beautiful day here in England at the moment. So
yeah, I was just thinking that before I started the space. The sun was beaming in through the window.
Yeah.
It's quite caught me by surprise.
Yeah. In the winter, it's going to be either freezing and sunny, or it will be slightly warmer but just grey clouds or rain.
Yeah, you can never really judge it.
Yeah. So I'd actually be more than happy for it to be sunny with no clouds every day in the winter and be like -5, than for it to be like 5 degrees or 2 degrees and dark clouds. I don't know about. Yeah.
All week here it's been very bright, but it's been very cold, and then down in the Republic it's been snowing. So it's like Ireland doesn't really know what it wants to do. It's just gonna kind of give us all the weathers and hope that one of them sticks for long enough.
Yeah, that's it. So you probably know him, Oliver Anwar, the he's another online coach. He just put on Twitter I think a picture of his garden where he is now, and the snow. I haven't seen a single snowflake this winter where I live.
I think I seen a little tiny bit, but it went away the next day, and I could just see all over the world they were talking about these snowstorms.
That's it. Yeah. I never ever see snow. It's like once every 2 years in England. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I can't take the extreme cold weather too well. I kind of have to just barricade the door and hope that Deliveroo is still working.
It never seems to be during Christmas either. Like what everyone's at home. You know, you never get a white Christmas. It's always in January. It seems to be.
Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves in life.
Yeah.
But we'll get started as we mean to go on.
Yeah, sounds good, my friend.
So tell me, who is Coach Dale?
Coach Dale is a guy who became an online fitness coach, I guess, mainly because of COVID-19. I was working in the exhibition industry before COVID, basically just building stands like construction, like at the NEC, London, Excel. The actual shows, we would physically build the stands. So it's basically construction. I was already a qualified PT before that, personal trainer, and I was trying to get into the a fitness income. And then COVID happened. All the gyms shut, all the sites shut. Couldn't work in the exhibitions, obviously, because that industry relies on crowds. So I was literally getting paid to sit at home until from March 2020 through to October 2020, getting paid to sit at home, which was nice in many ways, but it was hell in other ways. So, for example, getting paid to sit at home and still being productive, but there was nothing really hard. The days were
Felt useless.
Yeah. But I couldn't see friends, couldn't go to the gym, and unfortunately, I was living with parents at the time. I was like 24, 25 at the time, and we lived in a cottage. And this cottage, it was absolutely stunning on the inside, but the problem was they're built for aesthetics, but not utility. So there's absolutely nowhere. There was very, very little storage. So we had nowhere to put any loose weights or gym equipment, and it was quite compact and small. So I was imagine me, an absolute fitness enthusiast, significant amount of muscle at the time, with just resistance bands.
It's the same as everybody.
And I know what you're thinking, or people will think, well, you just buy some dumbbells. Everyone was buying dumbbells.
That's the thing that I seen a memory on Twitter today that someone said that after ordering dumbbells on some kind of like gym website, they finally arrived today, and someone replied under like, I literally could not get like gym equipment for even my kids, small kids, for like 3 years. They've been sold out in backpacks so badly.
Yeah, everyone wanted them, of course. Even people who weren't into health and fitness probably had nothing else to do. I think, I got all this time at home. Maybe I'll now start looking after my health. But so after that, I decided, well, what do I do? So I had this fitness qualification, and I was on social media all the time. I had all the time in the world to just think, and thinking is very important. And I noticed a lot of the personal trainers, coaches who I following were obviously, well, plenty of them were still carrying on. All the people who were offline coaches, like PTs, they all had to go online all of a sudden. So the obvious decision was just to try and become an online coach, but I didn't know really how to do it. I wasn't even a personal trainer at the time. I just had a qualification, so I didn't really have much experience of training clients in person. I just had to learn. I did a few courses, watched tons of YouTube videos, as you can imagine, followed all the right people, just gradually got better and better at social media. I'm not perfect now. As I say, I've still got a lot to improve on, definitely. I don't yet do it full time, but in the process of making that come true, definitely this year. Just got a bunch of clients now, sold some ebooks, building a network with other people in fitness, trying to talk to other people outside of health and fitness, but who still have a presence like yourself. And I'm really enjoying it, and the sky's the limit, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of social media. There is really no ceiling to it. And you mentioned something pretty interesting there about following the right people whenever you were trying to get into the coaching space. And I think
yes, absolutely,
in fitness, more stand out than any other industry. It's so crucial because I don't know if I would say I'm not really into the fitness scene, but I don't know if maybe there is a term for it. It might be just still fake natties, but there's so many of them that they portray like habits and a lifestyle of this clean, great fitness knowledge, but then in the background they're injecting themselves 3 times a day, and it is so pivotal for even younger people trying to get into fitness. It is, as you say, it's so pivotal to follow the right people and do your research.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If you are not natural, to be honest, I'm into health and fitness, but I know so little about performance enhancing drugs, steroids. I literally, if someone asks what does this drug do, I probably wouldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you because I have zero interest in it. I should obviously know about it and learn about it, but I really don't know much about that kind of thing. But yeah, I completely agree. Anyone who is, using them and has built a certain look using them should be transparent with the people who they are influencing. They have a responsibility to explain, you can't do this naturally. Okay, so that people aren't misled. like Liver King. I'm sure you're familiar with him. Now,
Yeah.
I absolutely adore his general message. I really do, of connecting with nature, eating whole foods, being dutiful, taking on responsibility, being masculine, that kind of thing. But obviously, he fucks up by not, being transparent about
Lying, yeah.
taking. Yeah, but as I say, I can look at both sides and say, almost everything I love and agree with, but that little, he should have really explained that more. But yeah, about social media, I was going to say, almost everyone is using social media incorrectly. They are just consuming social
Yeah.
media, and almost all of it is degenerate garbage, just sludge that they are just
Yeah.
looking at and listening to. That is really not helping them. They're just gonna. It's not moving their life forward. It's gonna make them either, depressed, mentally ill, jealous, feel like they're missing out, and I don't think it's good for people. Whereas, shall we say, like the 5 or 10% of people like ourselves, we not only follow the right people and consume the correct content, but we are also producing and genuinely trying to help people. And I think that's the most important thing. And we are using it correctly.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone in my DMs at the start of this week. He followed me, and he's like one of those like habit hacker type people. I think he's creating like a program to like kind of help people switch from like their bad habits into useful traits in life. And he was asking me about social media because he's obviously seen that I have a lot of content on my page, and I create content quite daily because of the podcast. I clip it up a lot, and he was asking me about kind of my habits for it. And it's so strange when I actually sat down and thought about it, but I almost distance myself from consuming content outside of the realm that I'm actually trying to be in, like podcasting and having conversations with strong-minded people and people who have like abundance of knowledge on topics. And I've almost done it naturally, but whenever me and him were going back and forth about it, he like was describing that that's so different to the new generation of kids coming through because they want to consume every type of content.
That's it. Well, society conditions people to seek short-term pleasure, sadly, and short-term solutions. So you've literally got people who they'll be on their work break on their phone, and they'll just spend half an hour just scrolling through TikTok, trying to, get the next buzz, like trying to find the funniest video. Whereas I'll go on my work break and I'll be posting content, interacting, with posts, DMing people, that kind of thing, just being productive, thinking of the greater picture, trying to help improve my life and the lives of other people. Whereas I think 90% of people are using social media just to, how can I make myself happier and more entertained today?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's good on the whole. Like, for example, I've got, well, I did actually deactivate them because I don't really use them. But like, for example, I will get back into it actually. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I've gone recently all in on Twitter, so I did actually deactivate the other three rather than like spreading a thin layer across 4 platforms. I was getting basically 100% of my business through Twitter, so I just went all in on Twitter, and that's worked for me. But I will definitely be posting the videos on the other platforms, and I literally would have to just cover my eyes and just find the upload button, so that I didn't see any of the feed.
It's a very risky place to be.
Yeah, literally. A lot of the videos, the first ones you see, it's either like some really stupid prank, like violence, like something that's basically soft porn, all sorts of degenerate stuff, like people like picking on strangers, that kind of thing. And I'm like, my God, you can just see the collapse of Western civilization. With every single scroll, it's quite scary.
Yeah, there's a big Twitter account, Out of Purpose, and he got a lot of hate on a post this week about I made a meme of some degree. I don't think I'm going to mention it because it probably will end up Elon Musk banning me because of it. But he made it about obviously that type of content that's being shoved in people's faces, and the statement he made was, he related it to, have you ever been like in your parents' house and the TV's always on and it's always the news, it's always daytime normal TV?
Yeah, yeah.
And he mentions walking past it and seeing what was on it. And it's just, for every one positive news headline, there's 40 negative ones. So it's almost like young people now have no choice but to create that type of content because it's all they have access to at the moment.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if you get Good Morning Britain in Ireland,
Yeah.
Northern Ireland. You do, yeah, yeah. If you watch that in the morning, I think it starts at 6 a.m. I used to do it. I can't now because I'd kill myself, I think, if I had to watch that every day. Literally, every single news story is like a political scandal. Should your children do this really degenerate habit, and they sort of mask it like it's actually beneficial when we know it's like one of the worst things they could do. The other one the other day, literally on, I think it was Thursday or Friday this week, was should women be proposing to men getting down on one knee?
Yeah.
You know,
Because of the leap year.
every single thing we watch is either making us depressed, confused, or angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll lecture you about climate change while you're eating your breakfast, you know, and oh god.
Yeah, there's an amazing study on this topic that a Finnish guy, he makes two separate social media accounts, and one of them he writes every single day, "You deserve to be happy" in a different language, and another one he writes, "You're going to die" in a different language, and he comes back at the end of the year, and the one that says "You deserve to be happy" has got 1,000 overall followers, and he comes back to the other account, and it's gone completely viral, and the amount of brands and businesses and the DMs of that account want to work with him would make your eyes water. And he's literally said after he done that experiment, he completely banished social media from his household. His parents, grandparents, kids, grandkids are not allowed to touch it.
Jesus. Well,
I mean, it's scary.
absolutely, my friend.
So we'll move on into you now, and the big post, if you go onto your account, the pinned post that's going exceptionally viral is your experience with quitting alcohol. Can you go into that a little bit and just talk about what made you want to quit it and and if you look back now, how do you react to that decision?
Yes, that post did very well. I think it did well because it's like quite a wholesome post. It's obviously, there's me in the photo, smiling, looking happy. Yeah, it went pretty viral pretty quickly, to be fair. Well, no, I don't know if viral, but yeah, it did well. So I've been drinking alcohol. Well, I was drinking alcohol from the age of like 15 to 16, in parks and fields when we were in secondary school in the UK. Then slowly, like age 17, trying to get into some of the dingiest nightclubs in Birmingham city centre without ID. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun back then. It really was. When we were all horny, testosterone-fueled degenerates. We're all, the only thing on our minds was trying to have sex with a girl every week. And for me, yeah, we did also lots of clubbing around Birmingham and Solihull, which is a town I grew up in. And we would go around the UK, like different towns and the major cities for nights out. We would also go on lads' holidays. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the main names, Ibiza.
Yeah, the
Magaluf,
hotspots.
Davos, yeah. And did pretty well out there, I'll have to say. But
subtle brag there.
yeah. It got boring very quickly to me. When I was in my teens and early 20s, hangovers wouldn't touch me. And I mean that. I'd wake up after a heavy night out, drinking a lot of alcohol, getting in at 4 a.m., and I'd feel terrible for about an hour. Then I'd feel bad for the next hour. Then I'd feel pretty normal, like midday onwards. And I was like, I could do this forever. This is absolutely great. But it hit me like a ton of bricks from the age of like 25 onwards, where all of a sudden hangovers didn't just last like a few hours. They would begin to last the entire day. And then as I hit like 26, 27, 28, they began to last all week. Now, as you probably know, you obviously try and be as productive as possible in all areas of your life.
It's the devil.
We can't afford to be hungover and essentially feel ill for several consecutive days, only fully recovering like the following Sunday when you've had a lie-in and you've sort of recuperated all that sleep debt. You've had, solid days of eating, and only like a week and a day. Yeah, about a week later, you'd actually feel normal again. So, and also, what was I going to say? It costs a lot of money as well, as you can imagine. So if you're trying to, as we're trying to be productive, we just sort of naturally think this is clearly a waste of money. I want to invest this money, into my health, into earning more money, nice things, that kind of thing. And yeah, it just got extremely boring. The exact same experience over and over again. So, but there is obviously a drinking culture, and I'm sure there is in Ireland as well.
Yeah.
Where people think you're weird if you don't drink alcohol. There's that kind of stigma attached to it, which is strange because honestly now I'm so accustomed to not drinking, and I'm without sounding arrogant, I'm probably still the funniest, most charismatic person in the room, and I'm sober, and I'm more sociable than the people who are drunk.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. I'm looking into people's eyes. I'm cracking jokes. I'm asking them questions. I'm being interesting. I'm not sat on my phone, and I'm fully sober, and I'm gonna wake up feeling a lot better than they will the next day. But yeah, the main thing really was to get my health back, energy, productivity, mental clarity, physical performance, especially in the gym. If I had a heavy night out, I'd go to the gym on a Monday, and you are, with the same weight, you are doing significantly fewer reps. And you can't ignore it. If you're trying to build muscle, progressive overload is key. You're not going to lift a heavier weight every week, but the aim is to gradually increase the reps. And then when you're doing so many reps, you would then increase the weight. But if your testosterone and energy has tanked because you had a heavy night out of drinking, even if you were in bed by 11, you still, all that alcohol is going to fuck you up. So I couldn't do it anymore, and I've never looked back. And it's probably the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, it is quite. It's quite weird from someone from like UK and Ireland. As horrible as it says, it's quite weird. Someone from UK and Ireland quitting alcohol. It's not normal anymore, really. But the thing that drew me to it was you'd see fitness influencers putting a big emphasis on how alcohol is the devil for your physique and for your cardiovascular endurance and stuff. Have you noticed like how much of a change have you really noticed since you quit alcohol?
Do you mean in body composition or?
Yeah, physically just all round.
Yeah, as I say, mental and physical performance is as good as it's ever been since probably before I ever touched alcohol, like when I was a teenager. Because I would drink alcohol probably every weekend, just like it would range from like, a little to quite a lot. Body composition, obviously it's easier to get leaner with less alcohol because alcohol, if you're drunk or tipsy, you're going to want more food. If you're hungover, you're going to want a lot more food. So that's, in regards to body fat, alcohol's one of the, it's only going to make it harder. As for building muscle, all the anabolic hormones are going to just be completely suppressed the more alcohol you drink. As I say, performance in the gym, you're going to be doing fewer reps. You're going to have less strength in the short term if you've had alcohol, significant amount of alcohol. And also sleep. Alcohol is one of the worst things for sleep quality. Certainly, people think there's a misconception. Some people say, "Oh, alcohol helps me sleep," and that's not true. It helps you fall asleep. It is a sedative, but your sleep quality is shot to pieces. People don't realize that. REM sleep absolutely tanks. It's like you have lots of little frequent wake ups, even if it doesn't feel like it. So even if you had 8 hours of sleep and you had like even just one drink, you're going to wake up feeling worse and far less refreshed than if you didn't have that drink at all. So some people say, "Oh, just have one, just have one." What the fuck is the point in having just one? Why would you have just one?
Pointless.
I'm more than happy having just a lemonade and lime, and that to me is delicious. Seriously, it sounds really boring, I know, but I'm not boring. So who cares what I'm drinking? As long as you're having your drink, why the fuck do you care what I'm drinking? Yeah, I'm keeping them entertained, so I don't know why they'd be so insecure to think, oh no, he's not drinking alcohol. I can't do this. I can't sit next to him. But yeah, people are weird.
So you've obviously a perfect example of both sides of the scale. So is there a way that people trying to get more involved in fitness and try and have kind of fitness goals for the year, is there a way that those goals can be achieved and survived alongside still having that social alcohol aspect?
Right. Well, that depends on the goal. Say if you are trying to get leaner and lose weight, then the obvious way would be to maintain that calorie deficit. Clearly not every day, but to maintain it across the week. So, for example, say if your calorie targets are 2,000 each day to lose weight, that doesn't mean you need to eat 2,000 calories every single day. It means you actually need a calorie deficit of 14,000 across those 7 days, because 7 times 2,000 would be 14,000. So as long as you hit that 14,000 across the week, you'll still lose weight. So that could mean eating less on the other days, but then having, like a Friday or Saturday night where you eat a bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
Yeah. So that's one way of doing it across the week, is having the deficit calories and just making sure you do enough across the week to hit those deficit calories across the week. And therefore your weekly weight average will still come down, even if you have alcohol in that week. But I would always advise people, if they are committing to losing weight, to be diligent with their alcohol intake, because if you get shit-faced, you're going to find it very, very hard to turn down food.
Very hard.
Very hard. And yeah, it's very easy to access food in environments where you're drinking, especially, pubs, if you're going to a pub. But then the next day, if you've got a bad hangover, good luck trying to lose weight and maintaining a deficit whilst hungover. Good luck.
Salad isn't very appealing.
Yeah. There's also another strategy. Say, for example, if you're trying to lose weight, but you've got, plans for a Saturday, what would be a stupid thing to do is to eat your normal breakfast, normal lunch, and normal dinner, but then, no. Is to eat a normal breakfast, a normal lunch, and then go out for food and drinks on the evening. That would be probably quite a big surplus. That would be dumb. If you know you've got plans like that on the evening, but you're trying to lose weight, why the hell would you still eat breakfast and lunch? Pull back on those and get like the overwhelming majority of your daily calories later in the day, so that you can still somewhat indulge and join in with the fun, but you're still, possibly in a deficit across the day, at worst at maintenance. So that's something for people to consider. And I'd say they're the best two strategies to lose weight alongside frequent alcohol consumption.
To be honest, I do think a lot of people that they do still want to have the alcohol social aspect, and then they complain that their goals aren't met. It's not even mainly down to their alcohol consumption. I think it's a problem in people in general is the lack of ability to plan ahead. Because as you said, you explained it very simply, is people look at it all the time as, right, I need to eat this many calories per day. But if you looked at it at a week scale and just chipped at it each day, so you had more left for a certain day that you have something planned, you could probably have a day where you binge a little bit and still make those targets, make those goals.
Yeah. As I say, the main thing is, see, it's better to compare weekly averages in weight rather than obsessing over day-to-day fluctuations. Because I have clients who will, for whatever reason, the weight they'll eat in deficit on one day, but then the weight will go up the next when they weigh themselves, and the weight. Your body weight can be affected by a million things like food weight, water retention, hormones, food in the system, like women, their weekly cycle, sorry, their monthly cycle, pretty much anything. The time of day you weigh yourself. That's why I say to people, when you are weighing yourself, I say to clients, do it under the same 4 circumstances so that you get the most reliable measurement. So number 1 would be first thing in the morning when you wake up. Second would be having been to the toilet, so emptying your bladder. Number 3, before any food or fluids. Okay, so you're probably thirsty, but hold on just a few moments. And then finally, do it whilst fully naked. Some people will weigh themselves in the gym. I see it so often, and I don't know what they're thinking. That they'll be in the gym fully clothed, and they'll be weighing themselves on the scale in like jogging bottoms, trainers, a hoodie, and then the next time they go and weigh themselves, they'll be in just a vest and shorts and trainers, and they're probably a few pounds lighter the second time just by what they've worn. So, do what I've just said, at home under those circumstances to get your true body weight, and therefore you're actually getting accurate data to compare each day to. But also, remember to compare the weekly average rather than day-to-day fluctuations, because people are going to get really disheartened if they think, oh, it's gone up slightly, even though I had a really productive day. Oh, it's enough, that the following day, it's just gone back to where it was Monday. That's 2 days of no weight loss, but they've got to compare how it is. Like, later that week, you could see like a 2-pound drop on the scale. And then across that week, they're actually 1.5 pounds lighter than they were the week prior. So it's the weekly average people have got to look at, not the day-to-day fluctuations, which can be caused by anything.
A lot of people's concerns when it comes to dieting is the types of food they need to eat and the food switches they need to make. And me and Tradition Rebellion spoke about this on one of the last podcast episodes, that it's kind of like I'm doing speech marks with my fingers, the healthy foods are becoming quite out of reach for a normal person. I understand the cost of living crisis is continuously rising, but if you compare, say, a healthy meal altogether, price-wise, compared to a 30-second microwave pizza, they very much are almost earths away.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I was going to say an observation would be a few hundred years ago, if you were obese, what did that mean?
Not great.
No. What did it mean you were in society?
Oh, and 100 years ago, it meant that you're probably quite wealthy.
Yes, absolutely. It means you had an abundance.
Yeah,
that's absolutely what it meant. You couldn't live in poverty, in the 1500s and be obese. It's impossible.
Absolutely not.
Whereas now, it's not the opposite, but it has certainly flipped.
It's quite close to the opposite now, though.
Yeah, what I mean is now you can still be rich and fat, obviously.
Yeah.
But what I mean is you're now more likely to be leaner if you're richer, and you're more likely to be overweight and obese.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting. And we're talking about food price and stuff. I think there's a lot of people who preach, obviously, eating optimally, which is great, but you obviously have to be realistic about the world and the economic climate. People can't afford to eat organic grass-fed steak every day.
Monthly, it would be more of a realistic goal.
Yeah, maybe once a month, maybe. So you have to be realistic. I spend, believe it or not, about £50 a week on food just for me.
I'm somewhere. I've brought it down quite a lot, but it's not that far away.
Now, if I could, that's with carbs, so like fruit and honey and potatoes. If I really wanted to, I could cut that down and eat like a carnivore diet, and then it would only be about £35 a week. Right, but I like fruits and potatoes and honey. I'm not one of those people who fears carbs. But yeah, about food price. What you've got to do is you've got to sort of find a balance between the best and what's affordable. So, for example, instead of buying grass-fed organic steak, get ground beef or minced beef. What we call it minced beef in the UK. In America, they call it in North America they call it ground beef, don't they? That's probably healthier as well because you get the grizzle. There's a lot of collagen. There's like more vitamins and minerals in ground beef than steak, as far as I'm aware. So it's not only cheaper, but you get a little bit more nutrition. Ground beef's not expensive. Milk isn't expensive. Certain fruits aren't expensive, like bananas, grapes, from what I can tell. Eggs aren't expensive. If you buy blocks of cheddar, that's not expensive. Butter's not expensive. Potatoes, pennies. You can buy a kilogram of potatoes for like £1 in Tesco. And that's a very high ROI. Weight loss food, you got some people who say, oh no, carbs make you fat. No, they don't. Potatoes, they're not calorie dense, but they are full of water, they're full of fiber and vitamins and minerals. They're going to fill you up. There's not many more foods more filling and satiating than potatoes. So, yeah, you just got to strike a balance between getting enough vitamins and minerals, enough protein, foods that are, higher in fiber and water generally, quality protein, healthy fats, and natural carbs, like natural sugar.
Yeah, I think the big problem though that people are going to have with that topic specifically is the trends of all these different diets. And you mentioned one, obviously carnivore, and there's so many. There's flexible diet, and there's vegans, and different things like that. And is it more people should be looking at how does it fit into their day-to-day life instead of what the outstanding benefits a millionaire's having with this diet?
Yeah, so people should do what is enjoyable, effective, and sustainable. So, a diet that's not optimal but very sustainable for someone could be a completely something that's sustainable for someone else. So, for example, there are a few people who, like as I say, follow the carnivore diet, and they can go several years at a time eating just red meat, and they find that very, very easy. Whereas for people the opposite side of the spectrum, I think they would rather die than do that. Like the vegans, I think if they had to do that, they would actually feel better and improve their health if they did that. But they would hate having to do it. They would never sustain that. So it's, as I say, I think like in all areas of society now, that people are going to the extreme ends rather than sitting in the center. So most people really need to find out how many calories they need to consume, get at least 80% of it from whole foods, getting enough vitamins and minerals, getting enough protein. If you want carbs or not many carbs, that's personal preference. But yeah, protein and fats are essential, whereas the body will create its own glucose. So, but I would never ever be one of those people who saying do not eat fruit, do not eat vegetables. That they're full of plant toxins, they're bad for you. I'll never be one of those people. I think the amount of people who are overcomplicating health is depressing. It makes me very angry. The average overweight person does not need to abandon vegetables and fruit to improve their health. They should be eating more of them. And yet you've literally got a good number of people on social media walking around supermarkets saying, potatoes are bullshit. Peas are killing you. Just that kind of stuff. Now, do they give some a tiny amount of people autoimmune problems? Absolutely. But in generalities, I think I pronounced that right. Generally speaking, no, you're going to be absolutely fine with these foods. So I think we need to do everything we need to do everything we can to simplify health so that most people can, improve their health, basically.
On the big topic of weight loss, and I think that this is the problem that the New Year resolution gym goers face is they set the goal in their mind of the guy that is stepping onto the bodybuilding show absolutely diced, and they don't realize the negative impacts that guy's experiencing, and instead of setting the goal as being lean, where a picture of someone who working a normal job who is lean, who has a little muscle definition, nothing that's going to get millions of likes on Instagram, but it's maintainable and it's enjoyable.
That's it.
Do you think that is the problem with people who completely abandon their weight loss journey? Is that their end goal is 1 in a million instead of a normal output?
Yeah, so I think on social media, sort of, especially if you go on Instagram, it will throw all these really exceptional physiques at you, and people think that's, a significant percentage of the world, when in reality it's less than 1%. These guys who are jacked but also very lean, a few in a million, maybe.
If even.
Yeah, if that. Like all the other stuff you see on social media, you'll see all these people on holiday in these beautiful, luxurious locations, and they're going on these trips often, few in a million. That's almost nobody doing those things, but social media conditions us to think that's like actually quite a lot of people when it's not. You repeat the question.
Are people having kind of an unrealistic idea of what the end result should be when it comes to weight loss instead of having something that's maintainable as output?
Yeah, so people need to do what is realistic. Absolutely. I think it's a case of people need to just simply improve their diet, like exercise, sleep, habits, and mindset. All of that. Think of that as a collective. Improve each one, and improving each one will help to improve the others. It really is more simple than people like to think. It's just that there's people on social media who, financially inclined, will try and overcomplicate it, and I don't think that's good.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to talk about because it's, as you said, those people that are absolutely diced, it is 1 in a million, and that's the reason why it is so difficult to convince people otherwise, because they don't really have the experience with people who are that way. But I have a friend who done a fitness photo shoot, and he had to be extremely ripped for the photo shoot to work. And I would say 2 weeks before that photo shoot, I would be messaging him and trying to call him to organise things to do, and he just was unresponsive completely. And he sat and explained to me one time that he had so little energy that he had to literally schedule naps as often as he possibly could. He would say on the weekends he could have anywhere between 10 to 15 naps just so he could function.
Yeah. They look incredible, but they feel terrible.
Horrible.
Yeah, that's the game, though. If you're going to do something that's that impressive, you've got to do what you got to sacrifice, haven't you? You got to do what almost nobody's willing to do, and that's why almost nobody looks like that.
when a lot of people do start to gym, the big thing they look for is supplements, and it's all I've trained myself now to almost avoid them when possible. Obviously, there's times where they are very, very accessible and they're very beneficial. They're good for in
Yeah.
the mornings if you're running late or something. But
Yep.
what would the general advice be on supplements? Because there's some really bullshit ones out there.
Okay. Yes, there are. So, my take on this, I think, is quite interesting. You shouldn't have any supplements until you've done all you can to improve your diet and sleep. Okay, so as I mentioned, some of the ways to get the diet right. But as for sleep, you need to get, let's say, at least 8 hours. Clearly, that's just normal generic advice, but also not just quality, not just quantity of sleep, but also quality of sleep. Do everything you can to get that in check. And there's all the ways you can do that. You know, being physically active in the day, getting enough daylight. You don't have to stare into the sun, but just make sure you're outside, fresh air, walking, making sure there's not much on your mind as you go to bed. Like the worst night sleeps I've had is when I've had a just terrible day and I know tomorrow's going to be hell. Don't have arguments at home, stuff like that. Read a book in the last hour before bed. Dim the lights. Lie in your bed for the last hour before bed reading a book, stuff like that. And you'd be surprised how sleepy you become. There's other things like nasal strips, taping the mouth. There are also supplements that you could take to improve sleep quality. We could talk about those. But yeah, getting the diet in check, getting the sleep in check, and you'll be surprised how few supplements you actually need. I was going to say as well, the main supplements you should focus on are the stuff that improve performance, really, like physical and mental performance, rather than trying to make up for nutrient deficiencies. Like, for example, having protein shakes because you couldn't be bothered to have, chicken or beef earlier in the day. I don't actually have any protein shakes ever. I stopped having them. I haven't had them for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. The reason is because I have just become accustomed to getting 240 grams of protein every day exclusively from Whole Foods. I'd actually say a controversial opinion, which is protein shakes should really be for muscle building only.
Yeah,
And
100%.
the reason for that is you're going to struggle hitting your protein intake and also hitting the calorie surplus several days that week. So that's going to, you are going to feel stuffed. So it could make sense to get like 1 or 2 shakes a day from protein shakes. So like, like a third of your daily intake, maybe. But still, like someone like me, I could still do it from exclusively Whole Foods and still be in a calorie surplus because I just know how to do it. But yeah, for fat loss and losing weight, why are protein shakes not a good idea? Well, what is it? It's protein powder. Compare a protein powder to like the same amount of protein from ground beef. What's in the ground beef that's not in the protein shake? It's a whole food. There's water in it. There's actual vitamins and minerals. It's a lot more filling, and because it's whole food, it's a lot more thermic. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the thermic effect of food, but your body is going to require significantly more calories to break down and digest and process that ground beef than it is for some protein powder mixed in water. So imagine the fat loss benefits you could get from opting for the whole food protein over the protein powder. Imagine that across a week and you're burning, significantly more calories without doing anything. And you feel fuller and you've got a lot more vitamins and minerals. It's a no-brainer to me. Yeah, anything else you wanted to talk about with supplements?
The reason why I brought up supplements is I heard a conversation on work recently and I couldn't contain my anger with it. Two people were obviously the new resolution was to lose weight, and one of them was trying to convince the other the benefits of taking fat burners, and the other was trying to convince the other of taking meal replacement shakes.
Oh, Jesus.
You can imagine where my head was at listening to that.
Oh, yeah. I would have been angry as well. Well, fat burners, basically just caffeine. They raise your heart rate. So the tiniest increase in calorie expenditure. But newsflash: if you eat a surplus across the week, then they didn't do what they said they were going to do, which is burn fat. So calories are still king, and they always will be. You achieve a calorie deficit either by eating less, moving more, or a combination of both. Anything that says it will help you lose fat but involves you putting it in your body, to me, is a misnomer. If that makes sense. The
Yeah.
idea of paying for something to make you lose fat and putting it in your body just seems to me to be asinine. Why don't you not buy it, not put it in your body? And if you're actually in a deficit to lose weight, you'd still lose the weight anyway without having took that, fat burner or whatever. As for meal replacement shakes, I used to have Huel several years ago. Are you familiar with Huel?
I'm familiar with the Stephen Bartlett ad that's everywhere about it.
So, yeah, what could go wrong? Meal replacement shake. Apparently all your vitamins and minerals. It's completely plant based, so better for the planet. Apparently, yeah, I'm sure. It's lazy.
Yeah, that's the big problem.
It's just lazy, and like everything in society, just conditions people to seek short-term solutions. So, from a mindset point of view, I'm against it for that. But what it's physically doing to you, God knows what it's doing to your gut. It's probably, no doubt, phytic acid in it, which is like an anti-nutrient. It will suck vitamins and minerals out the other stuff you're eating, which then you won't get. And it says like high in protein on it. It's all plant-based protein. It's going to be far less complete, far less bioavailable. And yeah, when I had it, my farts were disgusting, and they were yeah. So the only advantage I would say, I'll give them this. When I was on those lads' holidays, I thought I'd discovered fire, because like you wake up in like Magaluf on a it's a hot day. You're absolutely gasping for water and nutrients when you wake up hungover, but you can't stomach like a breakfast. I had like zero appetite, even though I was desperate for nutrition.
Yeah.
And but you can drink. You can put something down there. I would take over bags of Huel, the powder, and mix it in with water, and that would actually be a meal, and it would give me some nutrition and fluids, obviously, and protein, and I'd feel a lot better. So I'll give them that.
Very smart.
They'd hate me if I said this is only good if you've got a hangover.
It wouldn't be a great ad pitch.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's bad for you, but it's fine if you're hungover. I don't think they'd like it. Yeah.
Yeah, these supplements are obviously now, because they can have fancy promo videos and stuff, they're coming a lot more prevalent. But it's the problem I have with them. I know for sure these supplements, they will have some kind of benefits, and I have completely banned myself from protein powder because I was just getting lazy and not eating whole foods. But
Yeah,
people are so quick to research what's in the supplements and the benefits of them and what people have achieved on them. They forget to actually research what a supplement is. It is just a substitute. You can very easily do everything these fancy business owners are promising you if you just took a real good look at your diet. Like, you could research your diet and have far better benefits than researching MyProtein's new grape and bubblegum protein powder.
absolutely. I mean, just think about it. How healthy can they actually be? How beneficial can they actually be?
It's a powder.
It's powder that's chocolate flavored.
That's not exactly natural.
We humans evolved to eat lots of meat. That's how we deviated from other apes. We have disproportionately large brains because of all the dietary cholesterol we were eating and dietary fat. that the other monkeys weren't eating. We started off as frugivores, then we discovered tools and fire, and that's only going to go one way, isn't it? If you've got those two things, you're probably not going to be boiling potatoes. You're probably going to be decimating mammoths and large mammals, especially in the winter when it's colder. Where's the vegetation? Where are you going to get your calories from and protein? Where are you going? They would have sussed out that carbs, like plants, aren't essential, and that they could have survived just on animal-based foods. What are you going to do when it's freezing cold? You're going to, pretend you've won, try and win the lottery by looking for fruits and vegetables, or you're going to just look for the huge animals that are easier to spot, and you can just use your weapons and take them down and get a lot more vitamins and minerals, a lot better protein, and you get the organ meats. I know I do.
So, as your fitness coach, you're heavily into the fitness social media scene. People will obviously admire your content for the knowledge behind it and simple ways to lose weight. But you will also have an influx of people who will idolize you for your physique. And the big thing that I always touch on whenever I do speak to someone who is a fitness expert in some degree is the kind of lack of awareness around the topic of bulking, because these people that will be looking at these physiques online and they may think, I need to completely lose weight so I can look like that. They don't realize you could completely lose a lot of weight and look 10 times worse because you don't have any muscle to show with that new physique. Exactly. So someone new coming into the gym, they're relatively knowledge on the subject of nutrition and training and stuff. Is there any standout beginner bulking tips for that person?
Yeah, so I was just going to touch on the weight loss a second. Most average people who are overweight, when they do go to the gym, when they try and lose weight in general, all they will do is eat less of the same diet that made them fat.
Yeah,
they'll do more cardio. That's what most of them do. So they'll get their bike out the garage, they'll go for more walks. So they're doing absolutely nothing to retain any existing muscle. They're probably not eating much protein. They're just eating less calories from the same diet that got them overweight in the first place, which wasn't satisfying them before. And then they just do more steps and, more cardio. And that's all they do. And what happens is they just become a bit leaner, but lose significantly more muscle as well. So that's what people should be doing is getting stronger as they get leaner, doing resistance training as well as cardio, making it the priority. And also, I say there's like 4 forms of physical activity people should do. Stretching, full body stretching, often. I do it every morning. Second would be steps, walking. Okay. I would always have steps and cardio as 2 separate categories. Many people would say that steps is cardio, walking is cardio. Technically, yes, but I would keep them separate because I think hitting step targets and completing cardio sessions should be considered 2 separate entities in a quality, weight loss program. And then the 4th and final one would be resistance training, which in my opinion is the most important because like the others, it also burns calories, but it's making you stronger. It's improving your muscle, your bone, your joint health. It's what's going to keep you young later in life. The people who are literally only middle-aged, but they're just experiencing really bad physical health problems because they never, ever did anything I've just said, but especially never resistance training. They might walk, they might do the odd bit of cardio, but they never touched a dumbbell in their lives. And they're just in bits. They're having knee operations, hip operations, and they're limping, and they're only like 60. It's sad. So yeah, I've gone a bit off topic there. Could you remind me of the question? It was about bulking.
Is there any kind of basic standout advice you would give to someone who is trying to get into the gym but don't quite have the development to go and lose weight and become lean as the people they do see online. That they need that bulking phase.
So are you asking me kind of how to build muscle?
Yeah, as a beginner coming in.
Oh, right, I say, yeah. So, although I market myself kind of as a fat loss coach, I will absolutely work with anyone to help them build muscle. Just to put that out there. Fat loss is the niche, but I will absolutely take someone on and help them build muscle as well. It's just fat loss is it's probably an easier niche than saying I will help you get in shape. Building muscle. There's many components. The first one is calorie surplus. So you want to eat not in a big calorie surplus. I would always say a small calorie surplus. So get your maintenance calories, calculate those. Then I would say I'd say about 200 extra calories a day. Not 100, not 500. I'd say about 200. Okay, because a lot of people, they will attempt to bulk, but they will just get fat. They won't build muscle. They'll just get fat. And that's dumb. Your physique should always be improving. I would say it's not a good idea to have like long bulking and cutting phases. I used to do that, but I don't now. I'll keep it in a small surplus, and I'll have the very occasional week where I just clean up. So, like go into a deficit again, rather than having entire months where you go back into a deficit to undo the fat gain because you were unprofessional in your pursuit of muscle. And also, if you have extended fat loss phases to try and clean up the fat gain from building muscle, you will lose a good amount, if not most, of that muscle you just spent months building. That's a common mistake people make. So small calorie surplus. You want to make sure, as I say, get overwhelming majority of your diet from healthy, nutritious whole foods. Do not be scared of carbs if you're trying to build muscle, because although they might give certain people brain fog, I personally I perform better mentally when I've got fewer carbs, but I perform physically better when I do have carbs. So that's, that's something to consider. The majority of your carbs should come from fruits, vegetables, and honey. If you want some, pasta, bread, that kind of stuff, cereal, maybe, up to you. Just don't make it the majority. Then protein. You want to aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of muscle, not body weight. Okay, it's another key distinction, another thing people get mixed up. Pound of body weight. What if you're an obese man? 300 pounds. Do you need 300 grams of protein? No. So calculate roughly how much muscle he's got and then get that amount in grams of protein. So, for example, I weigh currently about 210 pounds, but I will, just because I can, I'll have at least 200 grams of protein. But most people, if they're out of shape, at least 150, I would say would be enough for most people. That's a good amount. But that protein, overwhelming majority of that protein should come from quality whole food sources, as I say. But if you are struggling to hit the surplus targets, by all means have 1 or 2 shakes a day, no more. But absolute max, a third of your protein should come from protein shakes. You'll get the complete protein, amino acids, and all that, but you will start missing out on the vitamins and minerals that will only come from those animal-based protein-containing foods. Sleep, so enough quality sleep, not just quantity. Enough rest days. The better your diet, the fewer rest days you'll need, I would say. The more sleep and better your diet, the fewer rest days you'll need. If your sleep's in check, your diet's in check, you can get away with 1 rest day a week. Some people have 3 or 4 rest days a week, and I think that's excessive. I would say 2 maximum. Obviously not training like a dickhead in the gym. But as for physical activity, so I would always recommend a push-pull legs workout split in the gym. So 6 days, like a push, pull, legs, then push, pull, legs. That'd be 6 days. Normally like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Push, pull, legs, like that. Normally a Sunday would be a rest day for me. Then obviously the key difference between fat loss and Well, to be fair, you'd try and get stronger in both, obviously, but it's going to be easier to get stronger while you've got more calories in your system. But I'd say that the emphasis would be on progressive overload for building muscle, whereas you could just maintain muscle if you were cutting. Yeah, you want to do, like, say, a warm-up set, then like a few main sets, at least 2, I'd say, and then perhaps a drop set to end. And you want to be training every muscle group at least twice a week, I would say, getting progressively stronger, not trying to rush to increase the weight too quickly. You want to gradually increase the reps, and then when you're doing so many reps where you're comfortably able to go up to the next increment in weight, then do so. So yeah, and also I would say certainly pull back on the cardio when you are trying to build muscle, because that will interfere with your muscle recovery. And certainly don't warm up for leg day or anything, but doing like 20 minutes on the treadmill, there's no need for that. Yeah, so you would absolutely pull back on the cardio, still by all means walk and everything, but you need to make sure you're not doing anything that's going to knock you out of that calorie surplus or make it harder for you to perform in the gym and muscle recovery. I think I've covered everything. I think.
Yeah, you seem to have covered all bases.
And
As
less alcohol. Get rid of
that. As we've been speaking, I've realised that you're quite ruthless in your advice. You kind of say it how it is. So I have got some typical diet myths wrote down here, and I'm going to need you to really take the leash off and just go at these. So first one is carbs and sugar are the reason for weight gain.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
You can see where this is going.
Yeah. Calories, they're what cause or determine weight gain or weight loss, calorie intake. Carbs, so they get a bad rap. And the main annoyance I have is when people just throw in any source of carb, any food that contains carbs or is high in carbs, and like they're all the same. So, for example, watermelon is as bad as cheesecake because it's mostly carbs. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, as I say, whole food carbs are some of the best foods you can eat. You know what I mean? Like, are you really going to point the finger at blueberries for causing fat gain, weight gain? Really? Like,
I think that's the problem, though. People forget there's carbs in fruit.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, we come from animals that ate a lot of fruit. We evolved from them. And it's the very best sources of carbs, as I say, from fruits and vegetables, are only going to make it easier to lose weight if used appropriately, correctly, because they contain fiber, which is more filling. They contain a lot of water content, obviously, like fruits and vegetables. Vitamins and minerals, yeah. The idea that they make it harder to lose weight is just foolish to me. It's just denying reality. The other sources of carbs, absolutely. I'll never say, that you can eat significant amount of junk food each day and lose weight. I'll never say that, but you could eat maybe like 20% of your daily calories from, shall we say, less healthy foods and still lose weight. That's fine. That keeps things sustainable, because I'd never tell anyone they should avoid a certain food. I want to keep things sustainable for people. So I tell all my clients, there's no single food that is off limits for you, but to understand that the more processed foods in your diet, which generally contain carbs, the harder it will be to lose weight and sustain your diet. So carbs aren't the problem. Eating too many of the worst kinds of carbs are the problem.
The next one is intermittent fasting is the magic pill for weight loss.
Right. So I'm not someone who says you need to intermittent fast. The main thing is just hitting the calorie and protein targets across the day whilst doing enough exercise. But if you're dieting productively, you will accidentally intermittent fast.
Yeah.
Or you'll certainly eat fewer meals. I have a general rule of thumb. So like if you're building muscle, 3 meals plus snacks. If you're fat loss, 2 meals. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a good
Yes.
guideline.
So you can have the same amount of meals if you want. As I say, calories matter. Calories are king. But I think if you're eating lots of protein, plenty of fiber, vitamins and minerals, lots of water, you should feel good, and you're not going to feel stuffed, but you should feel full enough to sustain your diet. That's the main goal: is maximizing fullness whilst reducing calories. That's the best way to lose weight and diet down. But yeah, if you're doing all of that productively, you will accidentally intermittent fast. I don't think it should necessarily be the goal. I think the goal should be to optimize the diet, and then that will be a byproduct, is that you will eat fewer meals if you're dieting productively.
Yeah, people see the intermittent fasting as like, it's kind of been put into extreme measures by some influencers, but they see it as, you don't eat in the evening and then you get your calories, and then it seems impossible to go over your calories. But I sit and listen to some of these videos and listen to some of the clips from podcasts and just think like, I can very easily sit in front of you, eat 1 meal a day and blow my calorie requirement out of the water.
Yeah. That's it. I was going to say this, though. Would you agree with me that most people who become overweight, it's because of their evening habits, not because of their morning habits?
Yeah, it's I'm bored or I'm in a good mood and I want something to treat myself with, and they go and destroy the cupboard, and before they know it, they've had 2,000 calories of chocolate.
Yeah. So I'd say in most cases, the average person who's overweight, they'll get home from work, they'll eat their dinner, they'll spend almost all of the evening sat down on the sofa watching TV, but they won't just want to do that. They'll soon get bored of that. And what's the easiest remedy for boredom? The most convenient is going into the kitchen and seeing what's in the fridge, the cupboard, and the freezer. And whether it's food or beer, liquid calories, you can be alcohol as well, which is even worse because that's going to fuck up the sleep to come. So what I was going to say was, if people have these habits of an evening, maybe, well, I wouldn't want anyone to maintain those habits of an evening. Those are destructive habits, but perhaps eating less in the daytime, earlier in the day, would be better, so that you can eat more of an evening, but eating healthier on the evening, eating a very high satiety, healthy, nutritious dinner, and that will completely reduce the chances of you feeling, peckish and still craving food after that. So perhaps eating less earlier in the day could help, if it means you then eat 100% of your calories from like midday onwards, rather than eating most of it like for breakfast early in the morning, and then like in the early afternoon, and then having, I don't know, like 6 hours between then and bedtime where you're bored just sitting at home, and then you've got all the time in the world to think about food. So maybe that could work as well.
Gluten and dairy cause inflammation.
Well, I'm not as clued up on gluten, but I can say this about dairy: about 2/3 of people are either sensitive or intolerant. I would be one of those people who is sensitive, not intolerant. So, for example, I can eat butter, cheese, yogurt, that kind of stuff, milk, and I'll feel fine. I will feel fine, but I will become lightheaded, and I will get significant amount of mucus, and like I might get pimples or spots if I like eat it consistently over a week. Whereas some people, obviously, they have the smallest amount of dairy, and then they're straight to the toilet.
Yeah.
The other end. Gluten's obviously in foods like that contain grains and stuff like that. I would say easiest way to answer that question, I would say, is all foods. There's no such thing as a good or a bad food. I would say foods are all on one spectrum. One end healthy and nutritious, and the other end is devoid of nutrition and near poisonous. You could say, perhaps. they're just that bad for you. I'd say obviously all the healthy, nutritious whole foods are at the one end, and then all the highly processed junk foods at the other. I would say the foods that contain gluten are probably somewhere in the middle, somewhere in between. So, like, for example, brown bread, pasta, cereal, those kinds of foods would be somewhere in the middle. Look, you mentioned specifically inflammation. I'd say, honestly, I'm not an expert on inflammation and all the causes. I know plenty of the causes, but not like in regards to dairy and gluten. But I would say if you'll know you'll know pretty quickly if gluten or dairy are giving you problems, I would say. And if you want to find out, try an elimination diet, the main one being like carnivore diet. Try that whilst adding in the foods that you're not sure if you're okay with. And then if you get a reaction, then maybe it was that. But I don't think the majority of people will suffer if there's bread and pasta and cereal in their diet.
You can only absorb 30 grams of protein per meal.
You know what? I see. So, I do see like this argument swing both ways. Where I see like certain people seem like giving fairly compelling evidence about both, like that yeah, you can actually absorb a small amount in each meal, and then other people saying no, it doesn't matter. You'll use it throughout the day. If you have 200 grams of protein in one meal, that's still fine for the entire day. I'd lean towards the latter based on what I can tell. The main thing is hitting the protein targets across the day. I would advise spreading it out, not because it needs to be spread out because the body can only absorb so much in a sitting, but because it will be far easier to get in. The main thing is getting the protein in and hitting the daily targets. And I think by doing that, especially if you're getting whole food protein, you will accidentally spread out the meals in order to hit the targets. Whether that's having like 2 or 3 meals spread out, or like small protein snacks in between in order to hit the targets. But yeah, my advice would be I wouldn't say it's impossible to absorb more than like 30 grams, but I would generally advise people to spread the protein intake out anyway. I was going to say especially if building muscle, but no, but even if the goal's fat loss, because if the goal's fat loss, you want to spread your protein intake so that you feel fuller. But if you're building muscle, you'd want to spread it out because you want to spread your calories out because you're consuming so much. It'll make it easier to get all the calories in if you spread out the calories as evenly as you can from when you wake up to not when you go to bed, but like a couple of hours before you go to bed. You don't want to eat too close to bedtime because it will disrupt your sleep quality. Hopefully that answers the question.
Vegans are healthier.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, we touched on that regarding like evolution, human evolution. Humans deviated from the other primates, from what I can tell, by, not discovering, but they discovered fire, but they made tools. And common sense is eating animals is going to be far more convenient for you than hunting out plant-based foods, which are not very calorie dense, which the fat I don't even know if they would contain fat. I don't know. Very little, unless it was like the fatty fruits, like they somehow found olives or avocados or coconuts. Why would you? Just logically thinking, why would you prioritize back then plants? Doesn't make any sense to me, especially when these animals would contain all the protein, complete quality protein, lots of calorie dense, fats, tons of vitamins and minerals, water. You could use their fur to keep you warm. It make absolutely no sense to me why you would focus on plant-based foods. And as a result, humans have deviated physically, in our biology, physicality. The matches more. We are still obviously omnivores. I'd never deny that, but we certainly become hyper carnivorous. As I say, that the common joke is you've never seen a cave painting of someone eating a plant-based burger, Beyond Burger or something. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, vegans are healthy. Can you be healthy and be vegan? Yes, but it has to be a very thought out vegan diet. It has to be well planned. It would require, in my opinion, quite a lot of supplementation. But if your diet requires a lot of supplementation for it to be not even optimal, just to be adequate, then that is, to me, not a very good diet at all. In fact, that's a bad diet. All the things we were talking about earlier with supplements, you don't need any if your diet's very good and your sleep's very good. And then obviously you'd give yourself more energy and better physical and mental performance by improving your fitness and doing more exercise, getting more fresh air and daylight. All these things are going to wake you up and give you more energy. So if you're doing all that, if you live like as a biohacker naturally, you probably never need supplements. But yeah, to go back to the veganism, most vegans are eating a lot of processed food as well, especially if they're eating fake meat. Are they really going to argue with us that that's better? Are they really going to do that? Have you seen what's on the ingredient list? It's a shit show. I'll never, ever... in fact, I'll just laugh in their face if someone ever said that a well thought out, even like the best possible vegan diet, like a well thought out diet of fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, all the, high plant-based whole food sources of protein that are vegan friendly, and all the supplements that are still relatively healthy, like the best possible vegan diet you could do, that would still absolutely be in the shadow of the most optimal omnivorous diet.
The last one I have,
I could describe that diet. I could describe that diet to you. So I'd say it could the most optimal diet for humans would be like obviously red meat, so organic, unprocessed, grass-fed, free-range eggs, organ meats, which are very nutrient dense, dairy if you don't react to it, honey, glyphosate free, organic ideally, fruit, and then as much as I certainly defend vegetables and people should eat vegetables, but I'm well aware that some people have autoimmune reactions to certain vegetables. The least toxic vegetables are the ones that generally have the fewer defense chemicals, because I'm not sure if you're aware that, like the argument for fruit but against vegetables. I'm not sure if you're aware.
I've heard it, yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, if you think of a plant, the fruit is like the reproductive organ of the plant, and the vegetable is the plant, if that makes sense. So it could, the roots, the stems, the leaves, that kind of thing would be the vegetables. So like potatoes is a root. Plants would have evolved. They can't move away from predators, so they had to, in order to survive, the ones that survived developed defense chemicals, basically. Some have more than others. Obviously, some plants are toxic. And so some give like a very small reaction to whoever eats them. Some give like obviously a fatal reaction. But the fruit is, as I say, the reproductive organ. So it's not going to put these toxins so much in the fruit because it wants you to pick them off, because that's how it spreads its seed. So these chemicals are in the vegetables or like the other parts of the plant, but not the reproductive organ with the seeds in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So in other words, there are many people who can do absolutely fine with fruit, but less well with vegetables. Yes. Next questions. Sorry.
So this is the last one I have, and I'm gonna throw him under the bus a little bit, but a good friend of mine, Roman Simon, commented it in one of my posts during the week. That was, carbs aren't required for humans to thrive.
Interesting. Unpopular take. I agree.
Not where I thought that was going.
Yeah. So I certainly agree, because I have done the carnivore diet, and I've done it properly as well. So I've literally there's a carnivore diet, then there's the lion diet, which is even more restricted. So the
Yeah, I
lion
was just about to ask that. There's another extension of the carnivore diet that has got. Is it more rules and more stricter?
yeah. So they're all forms of the paleo diet, if that makes sense. So yeah, so the carnivore diet is like a more restricted paleo diet. But to be fair, you can eat dairy on the carnivore diet, whereas I don't think you technically can on the paleo diet because it tries to get rid of foods that are cause reaction in certain people. But yeah, the carnivore diet is meat, eggs, dairy, organs, fish. I think I've got all of them. And so the lion diet. So some people would react. So very few people would have like egg or um, intolerances or sensitivities to dairy, eggs, organs, but they don't to just the muscle meat. So, for example, you've probably heard of him, Jordan Peterson, his daughter, Michaela Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they specifically don't just do the carnivore diet, although they would say they do the carnivore diet. They actually, from what I can tell, they actually do the lion diet, which is even more restricted, which is quite literally just meat. So literally like just steak and ground beef, from what I can tell, or what I've heard. Probably lamb as well. That would fall under it as well. Yeah, because there's ruminant meat. I don't know if you're aware of like ruminant meats, the difference.
No, no idea.
Okay, so ruminant meat would be like the larger mammals. So, for example, but not pigs. It's a confusing one. So, yeah, ruminant meat would be like the grass-fed animals, like cows, sheep, lamb, elk, venison, those kind of animals. But it wouldn't be pigs because they eat anything you give them. It wouldn't include chicken or fowl. It would be just those other animals I listed. So, for example, cows and sheep, lamb. Yeah, so they're going to be eating basically just grass, and therefore they're healthier and more nutritious compared to pork, which are more likely to eat stuff they shouldn't be eating, which would then affect the meat negatively, and which we would then eat. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, we'd get as much vitamins and minerals. Well, we might get more in the ruminant meat, but we'd certainly get less, like omega 6s and just like some of the bad stuff that would come in pork and fowl. I'm not sure. Did I answer the actual original question? I can't remember.
Yeah, you did. To be fair, you gave a lot of backstory into it, and I was asking it because when it does come up in conversation with people, it's almost like lighting a fire. Like they just run to it straight away. They're like, "Oh, that's complete bullshit." No, it's fake coaching and things like that. But if people done the research on it, they'd realize that it does kind of come down to the type of person you are. Like you do need to do a bit of trial and error. But I know some people who are phenomenal athletes, and they almost never eat carbs just because it doesn't react well with their body. And I know other people that they need probably more carbs than a normal person because they don't have the natural energy.
Yeah, like I touched on it earlier that I perform better mentally with less carbs, but I perform better physically with carbs, and it's as simple as that. I can still perform well mentally with carbs, especially if like my sleep's optimal, my diet's optimal, the carbs are just coming from the best sources. I'm on top of my shit. I haven't got anything that's making me, not think straight. Then I'll perform pretty well mentally, even with carbs in the system. But I've done carnivore diet like a week, and then I'll do like a 36-hour fast. And you would not believe the mental clarity that I'd get, like zero carbs in that system. You'd be amazed. So I'd certainly admit that although I'd never tell people to avoid fruits, honey, or vegetables, that you will probably perform better mentally without carbs. But as I say, I would never ever discourage people from eating them, especially the best sources of carbs.
I think you've hit every single one of those myths there anyway, as well as you probably could, and better than I expected, to be honest. And we've ran probably about an hour and a half now. It's probably the longest episode of the podcast so far, and to be honest, I really did actually enjoy the kind of insights and hearing it from normal person to someone who's very knowledgeable, clearly. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the episode, and definitely in the future, I think in the future it would definitely be beneficial to bring you back on to see where the trends with fitness go, because it's quite mainstream now.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that's. Sorry, go ahead.
I said I'd love to come back on. I've really enjoyed it. Been a great conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, and as I said, I can't wait to see you back on again. And I will send you all the links whenever it does officially get uploaded. I hope it goes up tomorrow morning, but had difficulties last week, so it'll be sent your way and be uploaded onto Spotify and YouTube. So,
perfect.
More than welcome to promote it.
Yeah, I can download it, clip it, and use it. That'll be great.
Awesome. Absolutely. Feel free to.
Perfect. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much, bro. We'll talk soon, okay?
See you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.